It is time for another Emerge Well with me, Kathleen, the Bodybuilding Potter. I am a God-centered healthy lifestyle coach using God's healing in my life, my transformation journey, His goodness just to share with you in hopes that you can glean something to use on your personal God-centered healthy lifestyle journey, whatever that looks like. Mine transformation brought me back to the bodybuilding stage after 19 years of being sick and then losing 160 pounds naturally. But it all started with renewing my mind, started in here. So these weekly lessons are just to share some of the information I kind of dug out during the way. So this is also the very first official one that has moved specifically just from YouTube to now we have a podcast as well. So if you're seeing this on YouTube and you're like, a podcast would probably be a better fit, you can find us under the Bodybuilding Potter on all of the major podcast platforms. So I'm just coming to you just as a regular woman, a wife, a mother, an entrepreneur, a master potter, a physique masters, bodybuilding competitor, as well as other things, all the roles that I play. But right now I'm here to sit with you. And today we are going to be talking about that you cannot receive the promise if we are still clinging to patterns. So I'm working here from my notes, and each week you'll see me working from my notes. Usually the verses I'm using are usually from the Amplified version of the Bible, although I do use other versions as well. But I'll be reading from my notes. Specifically, these are 15 months worth of one-on-one small coaching sessions that I did. So it's good stuff. So I'll be reading right from there. And I always try to give some posing questions at the end for you to continue your journey. If you like to journal, answer them in your head, pause and answer, whatever works best for you. But the goal is to keep your mind centered on Christ while you get healthier. It all has to start here before anything can start with the physical part, to really be able to truly steward the machine that you're living in, this incredible body. So the title of today's lessons is going to be Connected to the Source. This was a lesson that I did in November of 2025. Our scriptures of reference are going to be Romans 8:28, Colossians 1:17, and Hebrews 1:3. All from the Amplified version, and here they are noted that way. Excuse me. So I want you to think of something in your life that only works, of course, when it's connected to something different. If you have a cell phone, I'm recording this, with an electronic device. One perfect example is going to be a charger, but it could also be a light, some other type of device, maybe, a hair dryer or something like that. And then what happens, of course, when it is unplugged? Some turn off immediately. Others may hold their charge for a little while. When I first taught this lesson, we were using a plant, and I have the plant actually over here, and I had taken cuttings of that plant, and I love houseplants, and I had let the cutting sit for so many hours, and then I would sit and watch what was happening with the cutting. So this is in reference to that. So I took this cutting from a healthy plant at different times. At first it looks fine. It was still green, still alive, but over time it began to wilt. Why? Because of course it's disconnected from its source of life. So our lives are so much in line with this. And because we do not have a physical connection to something, I think it's something that can easily be overlooked. The moment we start operating, though, apart from God, in our own strength, our pride, or our own independence, we begin to lose that vitality. We may still look fine on the outside, but the inside, we can be drying up. So Romans 8:29 reads, "For those whom he foreknew and loved and chose beforehand, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, and ultimately share in his complete sanctification." So we were created and then predestined to be transformed, not to live disconnected or self-reliant, but to reflect Christ. Reflect. Transformation isn't about trying harder. It's about staying connected to him and our source, right? We think, again, reference back to that word vitality. We'll dry up if we're not connected. That's what your cell phone does during the day, right? If you don't plug it back in at nighttime or whenever, it loses its power. That hair dryer, as soon as you unplug it from the wall, it's going to lose its power immediately. The plant was a slow transition. It just started to wither. The same is with us. He is our power source. Colossians 1:17 states, he himself existed and is before all things, and in him all things hold together. So everything, our breath, our energy, our growth is held together by Christ. The moment we step out of that flow, things start to fall apart. He is our source. So when you are, because I didn't mention this before, when you're looking at these verses, I encourage you to look around them. Read them in different versions, read the ones before, read the ones after, and let yourself sit with them. So again, Colossians 1:17, before I move to the next one, says, he himself existed and is before all things, and in him all things hold together. He's like the glue, right? He's that connection between the device and the source. He's the source, right? But he's the connection. Think of it as that pulling into the source, so the source thing can then pull into the piece, right? He's the connection piece. Hebrews 1:3 states, he is the radiance and the only expression of the glory of our awesome God, and upholds and maintains and propels all things, the entire physical and spiritual universe, by his powerful word. The word is living, it's breathing. The same word that spoke creation into being still sustains us today. Our humility is recognized because we can't hold ourselves together, only he can. We can keep things under control for a while, or at least there's an illusion of it, and then some point you come unraveled. Because we're lost that power source, that connection, we have to give it to him. And the more you give things to him, the more you release that control back to him, the more you can count on him to take care of things. I think about, we know he's going to take care of everything, but if we're constantly just have things in our hands and we're constantly got it, just gripping it tight, he can't bless it. We have to go like this. This was a great example from a longtime friend of mine. I remember her showing me her hands and telling me about a time in her life when she was like this. How can he use this if I have to go like this? And that's a hard, very vulnerable thing to do. The process of continuously picking it back up, giving it back over. Some things are much easier than others, but he sustains us. He holds us together. He is the only thing that can. So a couple of questions already. Where have you felt spiritually or emotionally disconnected recently? What does staying plugged in look like for you today, maybe this week? In prayer, health, or even attitude? And stay plugged in lots of different ways. How do humility and dependence draw us back to God's life flow? Recognizing those two things, humility and dependence, they're going to draw us back to him. So with that plant cutting, I had two side-by-sides. One showed a connection to the plant where it was thriving, and then the other cut apart where it was disconnected. The plant didn't choose to wither. It wasn't its choice. It simply lost access to its flow of life. I did that. I cut it. I took away its access to its flow of life, and I didn't put it back. Likewise, when we rely on our own strength, we slowly lose that spiritual vitality, that peace, and that joy. How are you staying connected? This is a great way to do that, to stay connected. Staying connected requires intentional humility. choosing to remain dependent on God rather than being self-sufficient. I can do it on my own, or I'll get it to it later. Having the best intentions of connection and fellowship with other people, or if you go to church, if that's your thing, not your thing, if you do online Bible study, if you're here, if you have a physical place to meet up, if you speak the word, if you pray, whatever that looks like for you, but staying connected does require that intentional humility, where we choose to remain dependent on God rather than being self-sufficient. We have to constantly have an opportunity to be plugged in. That plant couldn't cut it and then put it back and be like, okay, well, just take a sip. You don't have it, and I'm gonna pull you back out again. It has to be a regular, intentional power source. So think about, of course, the electricity, right? When we unplug from the outlet, the light doesn't fade instantly, but the darkness does come quickly. The power was never ours. We were just the vessel through which it flowed. So humility is our grounding wire. It keeps the current of God's power safely flowing through us. Humility, getting out of ourselves to give it to him, be like, okay, you are my source of power. Here it is, Lord, over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it's funny because this, if you're watching, this is that plant. And she goes through these spells where I have to completely cut off everything, and then she comes back again. But she's pretty hardy, but I have to take really good care of her. And she sits right in my gym, so I remember her, and her name is Merge. But she dies off. Like, here's actually one that is pretty withered. So, yeah. So, power source. Humility. Where is your power source? How are you intentionally connecting? If you are more social, connecting outside of your home may be perfect. If you are more, or say less social, having small group type of activities, like we do our weekly workout and worship, where we try to intentionally gather and take care of our bodies and worship, as well as stuff like this. When it comes to my type of coaching, there's nothing to click and join. I just try to offer resources that you can benefit from. So watching and engaging and staying connected, and not only staying connected, but then utilizing the information that you're learning. How can you apply it, right? Use some of those questions again. I'm going to read those again to you. So, and then we will go ahead and close some closing thoughts and prayers. So where have you felt spiritually or emotionally disconnected lately? What does staying plugged in look like for you today, this week? And those areas is prayer, health, attitude. Where is it? How do humility and dependence draw us back to God's life flow? Like the letting go of ourselves. And I think our spiritual walk is very much like the old adage that was like, you can't, or how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? It's much like that. We get these small nuggets, we use them, we digest them, and we allow them to work in our lives. So God designed us not just to survive, of course, but to thrive in connection with him. When we remain plugged into our source through faith, humility, and daily surrender, his life flows through us, transforming us into his image. So when it starts here and then it moves to the external, we literally are his image in the world, which the world needs more of, so much more of it. So as we close today, I'd like to close in prayer. Lord, thank you for being our source, our strength, our sustainer, our life. Forgive us for the times we've tried to live disconnected. Teach us humility that keeps us rooted in you. Let your power flow through us again. Bring new growth, new peace, and new purpose. Amen. I look forward to seeing you again next week on YouTube or the podcast. And if you're interested in getting a weekly newsletter, be sure to go to the bodybuildingpotter.com, the Contact Us page that comes out. The Emerge Edit comes out every Tuesday night, as well as there are also other sources, workouts, my book, Battlefield for Health, and some other things on there as well. So thank you guys so much for spending almost 15 minutes with me, and I look forward to serving you again. All my love, guys.